Hello and welcome to the Australian Wildlife Journeys Masterclass, part of TTG's Aussie Fest. I'm Abra Dunsby, Features Editor at TTG, and today I'm delighted to be joined by John Daw, Deb Ferguson and Gemma Haythorne. John is Executive Officer at Australian Wildlife Journeys, which is part of Tourism Australia's Signature Experiences of Australia programme. Deb is Managing Director at Exmouth Dive and Whale Sharks Ningaloo, a Western Australia tour operator specialising in aquatic ecotourism experiences. And Gemma is Marketing Executive at the Mariah Island Walk, a walking route in Tasmania that's a hotspot for all sorts of wildlife. Hello all, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey Abra, great to be with you.
So today we're going to be taking a look at Australia's best wildlife in the wild experiences and highlighting what makes them so incredibly special. Very excitingly, we're also going to be jetting off to Australia on 2 virtual tours, one with Exmouth Dive and Whale Sharks Ningaloo and one with the Mariah Island Walk. We're also going to be sharing our tips for building a holiday itinerary for wildlife lovers and offering suggestions for choosing responsible wildlife experiences. So as ever, we'd love to answer your questions following this session. So please do ask them by using the chat function and make sure you move into the Q&A room after this masterclass to put your questions to John, Deb and Gemma. Right, so it's time to find out a bit more about selling Australian Wildlife Journeys. John, can I ask you, what is so special about the wildlife experiences agents, clients can have in Australia? And what are the USPs?
Yeah, well, a few things come to mind. I think firstly, the fact that most of our wildlife species that we have in Australia are only found here. So most people know about our marsupials, of course, but our mammals, 80 or over 80% are only found here in Australia. If you look at our amphibians, our fish, our reptiles, over 90% are only found here. So there's a huge breadth of experiences for clients to have. But beyond that, that diversity is a real feature and probably something we don't celebrate enough here in Australia. We've got the most diverse marine ecosystems in the world or of any country. We've got the most number of reptiles, the most number of lizards, and we've got the most number of endemic bird species as well. So it's a real treat when people do come down here that there's so many different species to obviously encounter. And that's really where the guides are critically important. That's a big focus for us at Australian Wildlife Journeys, is to connect guests with all those different habitats, all those different experiences in small group formats.
Fantastic, thanks John. And Deb, can you tell us a little bit about Exmouth Dive and Whale Sharks Ningaloo and what makes Ningaloo such a special and unique marine ecosystem? Should we take a virtual tour?
Hi, I'm coming to you from Exmouth here on the Ningaloo Reef on the Northwest Cape of Western Australia, which is a 2-hour flight north of Perth, about halfway up the West Australian coast. Here we have the largest naturally occurring congregation of whale sharks anywhere in the world. We see them from March until August. We have the continental shelf just adjacent to the back of the Ningaloo Reef, and this helps cause a lot of nutrient upwelling, which is why we get all the filter feeders here at Ningaloo, being the whale sharks, the humpback whales and the manta rays. So we see the whale sharks come in March on the full moon, when the coral spawn happens, and they're eating the food that's eating the coral spawn. So it's why we have it so reliably. Now you can see the white spots on the whale shark. Can anyone guess what that is about? It's an evolutionary change for camouflage. You can notice there how the water is dappling off their skin, and so it makes it hard for them to be spotted from above. You'll also notice that from below, they've got a white underbelly. So if something is below the whale shark and it looks up, it's only going to get the reflection of the sky. Here at Ningaloo, we operate to world's best practice. So we use spotter planes to find our whale sharks. We don't feed them or lure them in any way. We're just observing them in their natural behaviour. Whale sharks we have at Ningaloo are basically adolescent males, so teenage boys that are here to eat. Their average size is about 5 to 8 metres. They can grow to be over about 12 metres, and we've got a lovely old guy here called Kinky, who's 11 metres long, and he's an absolute pleasure to swim with. So swimming with the whale sharks, it's so totally awe-inspiring to be in the water with these gentle giants. It's very, very humbling. The other marine creatures that we get here at Ningaloo is we get the humpback whale. With the humpback whales, they're bigger than the whale sharks. The humpbacks can be up to 18 metres long, so basically double the size of the whale shark. It's very unique here at Ningaloo to have such a reliable location where you get good viewings of the whale sharks and visitations of both the whale sharks and the humpback whales for such a long time throughout the year. We see the humpback whales from May to October, and the guests can swim with them from late June to October, so it's a great opportunity for multi-day touring. The humpback whale population we have here up the west coast is very healthy. It's been growing over the years, and now we have close to 40,000 on our west coast migration. They actually give birth here at Ningaloo as well as up in the Kimberley. And we see the mothers and calves come and rest in the Exmouth Gulf, just adjacent to town here, for 7 to 10 days before they do their long migration back down to Antarctica to the summer feeding grounds. Now you can see a calf there on screen. As I mentioned, mum is about 18 metres long. The calf is born at about 4 metres in length. It will double in size during its first season here at Ningaloo. It will go back home to Antarctica, to the summer feeding grounds, and when it returns next season, it'll still be about half the size of the mother, but it'll be really fat. So it'll be like this great big round torpedo as opposed to a stick pencil. So yeah, they're just, it's so amazing to be in the water with both of these totally humbling marine creatures. Other filter feeders that we get here at Ningaloo are the manta rays. What is something really special about Ningaloo Reef is that we get both the reef and the oceanic mantas visiting the area. We see manta rays throughout the year, but because what is so special about being wildlife in the wild, I cannot say Tuesday 2 o'clock you're going to see a manta ray. You just have an absolute gift if you've been out on a whale shark swim or a humpback swim or even a dive or snorkel tour and you are visited by a beautiful manta ray. They, the oceanic mantas are a lot larger than the reef mantas. We don't see the oceanics as frequently. I do remember the first time I swam with an oceanic manta. I was in the water with this huge giant and he just flipped his wingtips and he was just gone. And I thought I was in the water with a huge spaceship. It was quite a mind-blowing experience. My favourite marine creature here at Ningaloo has to be the turtle. We have green loggerhead and hawksbill turtles here at Ningaloo. We see them throughout the year and we have a very special time of year over our warmer summer months from October through to about January, February. The turtles are actually nesting on the beaches and hatchlings start coming out January through to about April. So it's so lovely to be able to watch the hatchlings make their way down to the ocean. And what is one of the main features I find about the turtles is that the mothers will lay their eggs on the same beach that they were born, they hatched from, and they might not have been back to the beach, that region, for up to 20 years. So the lovely marine life we have here at Ningaloo on the world's largest fringing coral reef, we have over 500 species of fish, over 250 varieties of coral. We get a mix of Indian Ocean species and the East Coast species. We have endemic varieties such as the black sailfin catfish, and it's such a surprise every time you go out on a dive or snorkel at the variety of multitude of sites that we visit here. On the Ningaloo Reef, you just never know what you're going to encounter. So one day you might be on the site and you've come across a lovely manta cleaning station, or you're just surrounded by schools and schools of beautiful, colourful tropical fish, and walls of glass fish where you just can't actually see the reef for the fish. It's one of my favourite experiences.
Wow, that was fascinating. Thanks so much, Deb. Gemma, can you tell us a bit about the Mariah Island walk? Please do go ahead and show us on the virtual tour.
Right, will do. All right, so the Mariah Island Walk is a 4-day guided walk on Mariah Island, which is a World Heritage listed national park off the east coast of Tasmania. So Mariah Island is about 80 minutes away from Hobart, and then a half-hour boat ride across to the island. And if you're aware of Freycinet, it's just south of that, which should give you a bit of an idea of where we're located. On the walk, our guests get to see beautiful scenery everywhere they go. It's a very varied walk, and they walk along beaches, climb mountains, walk through blue gum forests, see lichen coloured rocks like at the Bay of Fires, and also visit grassy plains. So it's kind of like all the best bits of Tasmania in one little island. Those grassy plains that I just mentioned are the place that you will find the wombats. So the wombats are probably the main thing that Mariah Island is known for. It's known as the Noah's Ark of Tasmania, and it's one of the best places to see wombats in the wild in Australia. So yeah, they've been referred to as the fluffy little boulders if you've seen one of Tourism Australia's philosophy videos before, and it's probably our guest's favourite thing about the island. It's definitely my favourite thing about the island. They are absolutely everywhere and they're very cute, and you've also got the opportunity to see them year round. There's always plenty of wombats. You're never going to miss out on seeing them. As well as wombats, the island is also full of wallabies, forester kangaroos, Cape Barren geese, and plenty of bird life as well. So Mariah Island has 11 out of 12 of Tasmania's endemic bird life species, including the 40 spotted pardalote and the swift parrot as well. So there's something for everyone. There's plenty of Australian animals. It's quite exciting to see that many Australian animals in the wild in one spot, especially for international guests, but we never get over it either. It's always just as exciting every time you go there. The other animals that are on the island that are quite exciting for people to see are the Tasmanian Devils. So there was a population of Tasmanian devils released on the island back in 2012 as a bit of an insurance population. So you might be aware the Tasmanian devils are affected by the facial tumour disease, which is unfortunately killing off a lot of them in Tasmania. So what they did was they released a population of devils onto Mariah Island, since it's an island. Then that way they're completely sort of unaffected devils. And if the devils did happen to die off on mainland Tasmania, we've still got a population on the island, and they're using those devils to repopulate other parts of Tasmania. So it's a really exciting kind of conservation story and something that's quite special for the island. The fact that they're on the island and they're quite protected as well means the devils on Mariah are a little bit cheekier, I would say, than the ones in the rest of Tasmania. You've got a bit more of a chance of seeing them during the daylight, which normally they're nocturnal animals, so you don't see them, but they do tend to like to pop out in the daytime sometimes. We have had devils try and steal guest boots before if they leave them outside, so you've got to watch out for them. They are quite cheeky. But yeah, it's a very, very exciting experience for people to see them out in the wild. It's also an extra good chance, I suppose, to see the devils if you do the walk, because most people who go to Mariah Island just go for a day trip and then you don't get to see those animals at nighttime. And like the kangaroos in that shot there, the area that they are on the island, they love coming out at sunset, which makes for beautiful photos, first of all. But if you're not staying overnight, you don't get to see that. So staying overnight is definitely the way to go. And the best way to do that is with the walk. So we operate a 4-day walk from October through until April each year, because those are the warmer months. It's the best time for walking, and you will definitely see animals all the time around there. The walk is fully all-inclusive. So we include pick up and drop off in Hobart. We include accommodation, food and wine, national parks passes, and also use of all gear as well. So you don't have to worry about anything. We organise everything for you. The type of walking that we do is quite gentle, so it means it's quite accessible for a whole range of people. Anyone who loves animals can come on this walk, basically. And it's all done on flat, well-formed trails or hard sand beaches. We do have some optional walks for people who want a little bit more fitness on their walk. They can climb some of the mountain peaks as well, but they're completely optional, so not necessary for everyone to do it. For accommodation, we operate the only private accommodation on the whole island. So for the first 2 nights, we stay in private wilderness camps, and those are really beautiful. They're next to the beach, and you wake up in the morning and you can just hear the bird sounds and the beach and the waves and everything like that. So it's a pretty special experience. And then on the 3rd night, we stay at Banaki House, which is a beautifully restored heritage home in Darlington, which is the convict settlement on the island. The other thing guests love, which sometimes gets a bit close to the wildlife for how much people love it, is the food and wine. So we are, like I said, everything's included. So we have 3-course gourmet meals. It's all restaurant quality, and most people can't believe they're eating such incredible food on a remote island national park. We often hear that people sometimes prefer our food to the restaurants in Hobart, and there's some pretty good restaurants. So that's a nice kind of, experience there for you. But we include breakfast, lunch, morning tea, afternoon tea, 3-course dinner, cheese courses. We also include all fine Tasmanian wines and local beers as well. So there's something for everyone, basically. It's pretty special kind of experience. And with that, you've got 2 guides to show you around who are super knowledgeable. They'll guide you up mountains like Bishop and Clark that you can see there. They'll explain all the wildlife to you and maybe take you hunting to look for some devils in the evenings. They prepare all your food for you. Basically, they do everything for you. They will be your new best friends by the end of the walk. But it's a wonderful experience, and we definitely recommend getting your clients over here to walk with us.
Thank you so much. Really interesting. And I think those wombats are my favourite too. They're adorable. Okay, John, I've got a question about responsible tourism, which is definitely becoming increasingly important to travellers. So how are you ensuring the experiences visitors have aren't damaging wildlife or any of their habitats? And do you have any tips for agents when it comes to making sure they're choosing responsible wildlife encounters for their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few things. Firstly, the members across Australian Wildlife Journeys, they abide by a number of different eco certifications, and that includes Ecotourism Australia. So that covers a whole range of different best practices with things like carbon offsetting, energy, waste reduction, recycling, all those great things. But for us, it's also going beyond that, and it's actually not necessarily just minimising disturbance of the habitat. It's actually what can we do to improve it. So several programs where we're tree planting, eradicating weeds, tracking animals through citizen science like Deb does with the whale sharks and humpback whales. So some really great things that not only, I guess, minimise the disturbance, but ultimately we want to regenerate a lot of the habitats that we rely on going out to see all these amazing creatures. Mm-hmm. So certainly that would be a tip for me, is do your homework, make sure that you look at all those certifications, and really for those operators that have all those programs in place that are involved with those regenerative activities, they're the ones that are really taking it seriously. So that's certainly what we're doing at Australian Wildlife Journeys.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. And finally, how can agents learn more about the wildlife experiences Australia has to offer?
Yeah, a great way to start is the Aussie Specialist Program, of course, with Tourism Australia. So certainly connect with the team over in the UK on that one with Alison. We've got our own module on that one. So once you do the core modules, you can then go into a little bit more detail and learn about all our different members and experiences. On top of that, there's also a terrific hub that Tourism Australia has with loads of content, fact sheets and videos that you've got access to. And beyond that, AustralianWildlifeJourneys.com is a terrific platform. We've got a website where you can search experiences by month of the year, which is really, really important with migrations, obviously, but also special interests. If you're into diving, photography, bird watching, there's a whole lot of different options that you can search by as well. So that's a really useful tool that I'd recommend advisors going to as well.
Fantastic. That sounds really useful. Thank you. Right, that's about all we have time for today. So thanks very much to John, Deb and Gemma for joining us and sharing your tips and advice. And thanks to all of you for tuning in today. We hope it's inspired you to sell more Australian wildlife experiences. So it's now time for the Q&A. Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just going to wait a couple more seconds for a few more people to join us, but thanks so much for joining the Australian Wildlife Journeys Q&A. Amazing. I can see a few people joining now. So yeah, hello and welcome to the Q&A. And if you have any questions for our experts, John, Deb and Gemma, please do use the chat function so that I can ask them for you. I can see a few coming in now already, which is fantastic. Also, just a quick reminder to everyone watching that if you have until the end of this Q&A to answer the questions in the polls tab of the Australian Wildlife Journeys Masterclass for a chance to win that amazing holiday with gold medal. So do make sure you answer those questions as well. Brilliant. So I can see a question has come in from Sarah Lewington, who's asking, do you need to be a diver to swim with the whale sharks, or is it more a snorkel excursion? So can I put that one?
Yeah, hi.
Hiya, thank you.
Yeah, hi. So yes, it is. It's a whale shark swim. So you're snorkeling at the surface. As per licensing conditions through our governing body, we're not actually allowed to scuba dive with the whale sharks. A couple of reasons: they move along too quickly anyway for us, and you slip off the back of the boat, swim with the whale shark, then the boat drops you, collects you, and then drops you in the front of the whale shark further along. So if you were scuba diving, you just wouldn't be able to keep up with them.
Okay, thank you, brilliant. I can see another question has come in from Elaine Simpson here, so thanks so much for your question. I've got a question for Gemma about the Mariah Island walk. She says, is it daily?
So we can technically depart every single day from October through until April. We pop departures on based on requirements, basically. So if we've got people who want to do a walk on a day, we'll put a new one on. So yeah, we can technically run every single day.
Fantastic, awesome. And John, I have a question for you. What tips do you have for travel agents for building an itinerary around wildlife experiences?
Yeah, great question. I think the tendency is to try and cram up too much into the itinerary. Generally, people, when they come out to Australia, they obviously want to see a few different regions because it is so diverse, obviously. But my advice would be to do less or go to the fewer regions and experience more days in those locations, because what that allows you to do is not only connect with a greater amount of wildlife, you've got more sighting opportunities, of course, but really immerse yourself in those amazing habitats that we've covered, and also connect with the guide. That's another really important thing, I think, that people want to connect and learn from their guides, and multi-day trips allow you to do that much more effectively than doing little day trips here and there.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I've got a question here as well from Jilly Batchelor, who's saying, most clients always ask for the Great Barrier Reef. How would I recommend Ningaloo as an alternative? Who'd like to take that one?
I can answer that. So Ningaloo is a fringing reef, so it's literally on our doorstep. When you go to the Great Barrier Reef, you're on massive vessels with heaps and heaps of people, and I think their shortest transit time is at least 2 hours, and you can go to a pontoon where there's 400 people. On our tours, the smallest amount of time we travel is about 15 minutes or about an hour and a half. There's only 20 guests on our boat, and we're lucky to see another boat when we're out there. So it's unique, remote and untouched, nice small groups.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Amazing. I've got another question here from Albert, who is saying, why are they called common wombats? Oh, they are majestic and my favourite animal to see in the wild. I think he wants them to be called something something more fancy. I understand that.
I get that too. They're my favourite animal as well.
And we've got another question here for Gemma. What is the group size of the Mariah Island walk, and is it suitable for children? That comes from Sarah.
So So the maximum group size is 10 per group for the walk, so nice and small with 2 guides. It is suitable for children, so our minimum age is generally 12, but we do also operate family-friendly departures, and we're happy to take younger guests on those ones. The youngest guest we've ever had was 18 months old, and their parents carried them. I probably wouldn't go that young. I think a kid who's able to carry their own backpack is probably the safest option, but we get people who are, sort of 8 and above very regularly.
Brilliant. And another question about the Mariah Island walk. How long are the walks? Sarah Lewington's asking.
So it very much varies. So the main walking that we have to do, the longest walk is on day 2, which is about 14 kilometres over a period of 4 to 6 hours. So it's still quite slow, quite gentle. If guests want to do one of the optional walks that we run, which is one of the mountain peaks, those ones are quite a bit longer and take also a higher level of fitness as well, because you do need to climb a mountain for those ones. So those are, it's kind of more judged by time rather than distance when they are long, but I would think they're about 16 kilometres roughly for those ones, and sort of more that 3 to 7 hour time frame for the longer walks.
Right. Okay.
Completely optional.
And Deb, I've got a question for you with regards to accommodation. What's the sort of range of accommodation available in the area in Exmouth and Ningaloo?
There's anything from shared backpacker dorms through to luxury apartments at the properties. We have Salsalis, one of the luxury lodges located in the Cape Range National Park. So that's obviously your highest level of accommodation. Within town, we've got Manta Rays that used to be part of the Novotel group, so that's about a 4.5 star. At the caravan parks, there's cabins, so you don't need to, you can camp in that respect, but without needing your own equipment.
Mm-hmm. And are all of your tours family friendly as well? Are there any sort of age restrictions, and would you sort of recommend them for clients travelling with young children as well, Deb?
So yes, for our pretty much the minimum age for children on our boat is 6 years old. So whether that's the whale shark swim or a snorkeling tour. For the humpback whale swim, the minimum age is 13 years old, but a child of 6 can be on board doing the whale watching. We also run a sunset tour, which is only a 2-hour tour of an evening, and that's open age, so infants are welcome.
Brilliant. We've had another question come through from Suzanne Kimberley, who said, what wildlife experience do you recommend for someone with a disability? John, perhaps I can put that one to you.
Yeah, sure. I think the marsupial experience has come to mind. The majority of our members have the ability to cater for those sorts of experiences in groups. And for those, we're traditionally not walking too far and can generally find locations where it's accessible. And that's the great thing about going out with our guides as well, is that they know where we can go out and connect with those animals. It's nice and convenient for those type of experiences.
Fantastic.
Anything from koalas, all the iconic stuff, basically.
Brilliant. And another question here, can you swim with gentle whale sharks and also humpback whales at the same time? From Emma Dalzell for Deb.
Okay, so the whale shark season is March until early August. The humpback season is late June, early July to October. So there is that overlap where you get the option of multi-day touring. They are both in the same playground, they're both in the same ocean. It can happen that quite often that we're on the whale shark swim and you'll see the humpbacks going past from the boat. We run the tours in a way that they're exclusive tours, so you're booked on a whale shark swim and then a few days later you're on a humpback swim. We don't do it as multiple whales or whale sharks in the one day. We try and keep it a unique exclusive tour where possible, but it has happened that you're waiting for the boat pick up on a whale shark swim and the humpback comes to see what you're doing.
Wow, awesome. So you can get lucky there.
You can. I wouldn't be hoping to have that happen on my tour, though. That's very, very rare.
Okay. I'm just looking at the time, and I actually think that's about all we've got time for. But thank you so much to everyone for your fantastic questions. That was great. And thank you so much to Gemma, Deb and John.